You are live now.
All right, well, we will officially call the meeting to order at 1:03. Welcome to Sports Tourism Commission. Let me pull my agenda back up here, sorry. I believe the minutes are first, so we want to review the minutes.
You are live now.
We're live now. We will officially call the meeting to...
We are live.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard something else.
I had to mute the YouTube.
Gotcha. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? We'll assume we have. Can I get a motion to approve minutes? There's only 4 of you and 3 of you are on mute, so we're gonna have to.
I'll make a motion to approve.
There we go, Josh. Josh is waking us up. All right, I got a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Brian. All right, roll call. Mr. Chris.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Josh.
Yes.
And Brian.
Yes.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Financial report. Steve, if you'll allow me to share my screen, I'll pull that up real quick. Maybe if I remember what I did with it.
I think you should be able to share
Okay. Just want to make
yourself
sure.
without making you host.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Let's see. Just says you host disabled participant screen sharing. You have to enable it. Or that may be Jeff.
Just 1 second.
I'm not sure who's hosting what here.
You have the host duties now.
All right. All right. So you can see available balance in the account is $486,171.36. We collected the last deposit made on June 9th by Steve was $32,359.97. You can see the COVID has officially kicked in. Obviously interest paid $52.15, and then of course last month or last meeting we saw Chris' check go through, so no new expenses have come out. Any question on financial report?
No.
Reads. All right, I will take a motion to accept financial report.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Chris. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Josh. Roll call. Josh.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
And Brian.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Other thing, and the only other thing on the financial report is we are hopefully we will be finishing up the budget. We have to, I do have to go over that with the fiscal court and present that the Monday before our next meeting. So we'll probably will have to have a quick special meeting at some point just to approve the budget. I just haven't been able a chance to get with Ashley and get it done today, but once that's done, I'll send a quick meeting out. We'll take 10 minutes to have a meeting, approve that, and be done with it. So, all right, next on the agenda, Brian and AJ bond insurance. Kent, do you have I've got everything on that. Do you need me to go over that or you want to?
Yeah, if you have everything, go ahead.
Peel and Holland sent me an invoice and a bond for Brian, but I don't think they've ever sent the bond for AJ or the invoice for AJ. And I emailed them about that this morning and copied you on that. I don't know if you saw it.
I could have missed it in our 5,000 emails from this morning.
Yeah.
Poor Kent's been dealing with me since 8:30 this morning. I say I have that then. I may not. I assume they were together. We may not have that then. Steve, do you have anything other than that on the bonds?
I do not, but I will check.
Okay.
Really, I think the only thing we probably need to do is just to authorize the payment of the premium on the bonds for Brian and AJ, since they're going to be the ones handling or have access to the bank account. The amount of bond would be $500,000 each, and the premium is $1,500 each plus tax, which I think on the one invoice I saw was a total of $1,527, something like that. So if we can approve payment of that whenever we get the correct invoices sent to us, we'd be ready to get them in place.
See if I, or Steve, see if you can find it. I don't know if I can find the,
I will.
I thought we saw that at one point, but that doesn't mean it was that. Did that come from Clint at Peel and Holland, or? Yeah, maybe they never did send it to us. I guess we're still waiting on it. Okay, so I guess me or Steve we'll talk and send an email to Clint and see where we're at with that. I don't know if they're still waiting on an application for somebody, or I know.
No, I know that's been done. They have accepted Brian's application, and AJ's was accepted a good while ago, and they sent an invoice that had the wrong bond amount and had a premium higher than what had been agreed to, I think, or what they had initially bid. I think it was like $1,750, and I sent something to Clint, and he said, "Yeah, you're correct. It is only $1,500." So we're waiting for corrected invoices and the bond. So I don't know who he's going to send that to, but if it comes to me, I'll forward them to you guys as soon as I get them.
How about I reach out to him if you'd like?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you who sent the invoice, and let me copy you on what I sent to her. Her name was Misty Meyer, and I'll just forward that to you right now.
So we'll move. Steve's gonna reach out to Peel and Holland. We'll get that invoice and be able to have that at the next meeting to approve. Since that's what we're waiting on there. All right, moving on. We got a lot of stuff to get done. I don't want to have to Jeff and them to have rush. So commission liability insurance approval. I'll tell you what, Ken, I'll let you explain this, but I'll
Yep.
go share this screen. I don't know if everybody's got it or not. So
Yeah, that's really just the same thing as number 6. You know, we got insurance through CACO, the Kentucky Association of Counties, and part of their all lines insurance program. So To get that in place, we have to adopt their standard agreement, and that's what I sent out a little bit earlier this morning. So that's what number 6 is to approve that. And once we get that agreement signed and returned to Keiko, then there's the invoice, which is number 7 on the agenda, that when we pay that, we'll get the insurance
Yeah, there's the invoice, Kent.
in effect. And that invoice we could go ahead and pay it, but it's not technically due until August 1st.
Yeah, and we've got it in the budget to pay that starting fiscal year. So July or August, either way is fine. Any questions on the insurance for commissioners?
If I remember correctly, whenever we were discussing back in third quarter, fourth quarter of last year, we were just going to be grandfathered in without any additional cost.
That was
Or
the
is that
first
just-
year. First year we were part of the county's plan coverage.
Okay, so now we're standing on our own 2 feet on that. That makes sense.
Yeah, now that we've got a fiscal year and we've got a budget, we'll have our own separate policy.
Yeah, and if you look at the last page of the agreement that I sent out this morning, it's a declarations page, and it shows all the different coverages which we have in effect once we sign the agreement and return it. So that'll give you an idea of what's included in this coverage.
Okay, okay.
I mean, I'm happy to run through it if you
No,
want.
that's fine.
If you want to see that or hear that.
Is it big enough? Does anybody make it bigger? We're good there. Any questions for Ken on that?
Really, I didn't have any role, I'll say, in putting this insurance program together. I think that was discussions with Steve, so maybe he may have something to say about it. But he had forwarded me the agreement right before last meeting, so that's the only reason I really even had it.
Oh, Steve, anything to add?
Not really. I think it's pretty standard, as
Yeah.
been mentioned.
So do we need a motion to approve just the invoice or both, Kent?
Well, I think we'll just take them sequentially. The number 6 there to approve the agreement, the self-insurance program agreement with Keiko, and authorize that to be signed by you as the chairman, and then approve payment of the premium, which is in the invoice, which is number 7 on the agenda.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to consider approval of self-assurance program.
Just made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Josh. Roll call. Megan?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion approves for Keiko Insurance and for the invoice. All right. So we'll get that paid as well. All right, number 8, the part Brian's been super excited about.
Jim, I'm sorry, 1 second. So are we, was that motion, was that to sign and pay, or are we doing a separate one for the authorization of payment?
I thought it was the sign and pay.
Sign and pay, okay,
I was hoping it was the sign and pay. So we're going.
okay.
You good, Megan?
Yep.
Okay. Number 8 is Brian's favorite thing, is he's been super excited to become treasurer of this great organization. So he's stepping in and helping us out because it's a spot we need. This will take effect in the fiscal year, so that's July 1st. So Ashley and I are finalizing everything. We'll start getting everything out of her hands and into Brian's powerful hands. which also means Brian gets to take over all the stuff I've been getting to do. So congratulations, Brian. Super proud for you. So I need a motion to make or elect Brian as treasurer, and he does not get a say in this. So if he tries to vote against it or anything, we'll just mute him real quick. But
And that's effective July 1, right?
correct. Brian, do you have a speech or anything you want to give real quick?
I will say I'm as excited about accepting this position as Megan was in accepting the secretarial position.
She wasn't
That's
in
not
attendance when she
possible.
was appointed. So.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You are willingly agreeing. And I will note, I haven't missed a meeting since. So
That's how we keep attendance up here.
that's right.
All
Same
right.
thing we like to volunteer AJ for today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can.
Yeah. So you're needing a motion, Jim?
Yes.
I'll make a motion for Brian to be treasurer effective July 1st.
All right. And can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Let's go through a roll call. Brian, I know. Does Brian vote for himself? How does that work exactly?
Let's see,
Sure.
If,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if I vote no, do you still have a majority?
No,
I don't think we do actually. I think I have to vote at that point.
I guess I'll vote yes then.
Josh,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Megan.
yes.
All right. Brian will be our new treasurer as of July 1st. Passes unanimously. Congratulations, Brian. Thank you again. That's going to be a big help. So thank you. Number 9 on the agenda. Do we just create a resolution to put her on there? Is this a motion? I don't.
I'm number 9. See. Really, since that appointment's not going to be effective until July 1st, we'll have a resolution like we did before to give to the bank that we can adopt at the June 24 meeting. So why don't we just pass on this matter right now?
Okay.
And then we'll prepare just a simple resolution like we've used for the other times we've appointed people to have access to the funds.
Okay. And then I'm looking at a different agenda, but one I'm looking at number 10 for the fiscal budget, that is not ready, so we will not be talking about that today. And then 11, we already discussed that, the premiums for the bonds. But those are through Liberty Mutual. Steve, do you have that information? Or is that
Who's
Kent?
that?
The payment premiums of $1,527 for AJ and Brian. We already talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
I guess I'm looking at different. My agenda's all weird. Well, some of this may be me and Kent may.
Same as number 4.
Yeah. We had to add some stuff at the end there or earlier this morning. All right. Number 12 on the agenda. Reimbursement resolution. Kent, you go over this, explain what this is.
Sure. That was another document that I sent out this morning, and it was provided to me by the bond counsel from McCracken County, Mark Franklin. And what this is just really a routine part of the financing for the commission on the bonds that are going to be issued by the county. And what this does, it's called a reimbursement resolution, and it authorizes, before the bonds are issued, this commission may be out some funds to pay for various matters in connection with the portable courts that we have on order. And so this would allow those expenditures to be reimbursed from the bond funds once those bonds are issued. So it's just kind of like a placeholder to make sure that the commission can get reimbursed for expenditures that are appropriately part of the bond issue. So
We need a motion for that. There's no cost or anything. Is there a cost for that, or is that just
No.
any questions on the resolution from Kent?
No, I'll make a motion.
Motion by Josh. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Brian. All right, roll call for a vote. Josh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Megan,
Yes.
there we go. Brian,
Yes.
and Chris.
Yes.
All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, and 13, update on status of agreement for the lease of portable hardware courts at the convention center. Kent and I had a call at 8:30 this morning with their lawyer, with Venue Works. Got a lot of details hashed out. Kent's putting some pieces together for a contract. Their biggest issue and the reason they took those parameters that we had in there out was pretty much was the coronavirus stuff. And they said, we didn't want loose language like best effort, and y'all come back and hold that against us when we may not be able to even hold a tournament until next year sometime. So we kind of worked on some different language for that and what that looks like. And Kent's going to work on that, and we'll be able to present that to the commission at the next meeting in 2 weeks. So anything else that you want to add to that I missed, or?
No, I thought it was a very good meeting, and I think they understood why we had the language in there about reporting back to the commission to help us demonstrate our performance of our mission and getting people to stay in the local hotel beds. And so overall, it was very productive, and hopefully we'll have something worked out by a little bit early next week.
Yeah, and we're definitely all on the same page. They want to obviously book as much as they can that's overnight and bring those tournaments in. They are already starting to work with local volleyball and basketball people. One thing Michelle did say was a struggle for them right now is because they have been closed, because they had, the hotels have been down. They don't have, there's no revenue coming in there. So, to be able to be ready to put volleyball in by August 1st means they got to go out and buy a lot of extra equipment they don't have. So a struggle for them right now is just figuring out where they're going to come up with that extra revenue to go out and buy volleyball nets and all the stuff they need for Coach Whitus and his program. So, she's they're working on that. They're trying to figure out make sure that's going to happen. And we can completely understand that. I mean, obviously, we see our bank account from last month as well. So they're definitely doing everything they can to make it happen and put their best foot forward as well. So any questions on the convention center and the courts?
Yeah, one other thing. So are we having one contract with Venue Works and another contract with the convention center, or we just have one contract for combination of both?
Okay, so you guys have seen the contract from Venue Works. After last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, I can't remember, Stephen, can't the exact date, but they sent us what they deemed a sales contract between us, the convention center, and the CVB. And today,
the one they sent us then was between Venue Works, the CVB, and us. It didn't have the convention center.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So today we kind of went over that contract. That was kind of a sales contract, and what we kind of talked about today was we're going to kind of push that back a year because we said, hey, if you guys want to get in a contract with the CVB to make sure that you guys know what y'all's role is in this, that's fine. But as far as us help promoting events and kind of being out there and marketing on behalf of the convention center, that we don't really have anybody doing that right now. And we didn't feel like that was the commissioner's roles. As we've got enough on our plate with, our next project that we're dealing with. So Kent and I just kind of discussed with them, what we're going to do is in a year from now, we're going to kind of reevaluate. Let's see where we're at at that point as a commission. Do we have a staff, or have we hired somebody that can help with sales, can help with advertising, that type of stuff, and just kind of see where we're at. But I think that piece of the contract really won't come back into play for another year. Any other questions on that?
Chris, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
All right. Well, I've talked enough. It's Jeff's turn, so I'll turn it over to the other Tennessee guy because this is, these things work great when us Tennessee people seem to lead these things. So, so Jeff, it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, Jim. Well, thank you for allowing us to present today. Going back to the scope of services for phase one, phase one of this project is kind of a site analysis and assessment, schematic design, master plan for this complex. And part of our initial work is to come up with a program for this facility. I'm going to share my screen here and kind of walk through this presentation with you a little bit, discussing the programming piece of this. Steve, if you can give me capability to do that. Part of the...
Jim's supposed to pass over, sorry.
Okay. Jim, can you give me the ability to... While we're doing that, I'll keep talking. So, part of the process on this was Pinnacle Indoor Sports produced a report in the fall of 2019 that was released in January of 2020 that began to walk through a program for the projected facility, whatever that may look like. Part of that programming piece was the number of fields, what type of fields, layout of fields, amenities of the complex. And so when
Can we hold on just for a second until we figure this out so we can better concentrate on what you're saying?
Yeah, certainly.
You have to go into participants and you're on mute.
Okay.
Jeff, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Jeff, you should be able to now. I changed it to all participants.
Okay, I got you.
So anybody should be able to now.
Okay. All right,
Thank
so y'all see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. So, so part of this process was Pinnacle's process was determining the number of fields, what type of fields, space needed, parking, amenities that the complex would have. When we were awarded the project, part of our team was Pros Consulting, and they do work similar to that of Pinnacle Indoor Sports in regards to market analysis, operations, programming, things like that. And so Philip Parnan with Pros was able to take the Pinnacle report. We all kind of walked through it, dissected it, came up with questions, discussed it as a team. And then Philip dug even deeper and went into trying to develop the actual program for this facility that this facility could support based on demographics, based on need, and all of that. And so we just want to walk through with you this programming piece. And we've got kind of two portions of it. We've got a master program that Philip will walk through, and then Eric Hornig with Hitchcock will kind of pick up and walk through the detailed program where we get into the weeds just a little bit more about some of these program elements and some of the secondary program elements that could be a part of this facility. So, so Philip, I'm going to kind of let you take it away and begin discussing the master program.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate it. Commission members, thank you for the opportunity to come before you today. As Jeff was saying, we put a significant amount of time and effort into reviewing a lot of the documents. So what we're going to give you is an idea of our approach to that preliminary master program that he was discussing to assist. It was essentially to help assist in vetting potential properties. So as part of the preliminary master program development, the team reviewed the Pinnacle report, as Jeff said, but also we took a look at some of the other local documents that exist, such as the Paducah Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And we looked at that for a couple of reasons: athletic field inventory, as well as community need, and how well that need was currently being met, i.e. the current level of service. We, in addition, took a look at some of the backstory as far as news articles and video clips, and looked at the county and city participation numbers in athletics, the city website, as well as the county website, CVB website, and promotional materials for local attractions, things of that nature. And then since the Pinnacle report came out in January, shortly towards the end of January, the new 2020 report from the Sport and Fitness Industry Association came out on participation in those activities. After reviewing all of these and establishing a baseline understanding, we developed the preliminary master program that Jeff was talking about that you see on the screen. So essentially, a regional draw was one of the outcomes and assumptions that we had in mind. A regional draw to help further develop the economic impact to the county. Drawing these teams in somewhat of an overlay is an acceptable approach. However, it is a lesser experience for some of the teams, and they're really looking for a competitive experience, a really well-designed facility in these instances. As I'm sure you all know, the youth sport travel industry is roughly about a $20 billion a year industry here in the United States alone, and it's anticipated to increase between now and 2026 as well by at least $10 billion. So there's a great opportunity, and we wanted to make sure that we looked at the other opportunities that were available, not just as far as athletics is concerned, but just beyond those three traditional sports identified in the Pinnacle report. And then also what does Paducah as well as McCracken County and the surrounding area have to offer as well. So we looked at also the potential for year-round sports, and that includes indoor athletics. And we were able to identify from the Pinnacle report that there had already been some discussions and ideas regarding this and a direction that may be evolving still, but one that seemed pretty palatable as far as being able to have a couple of sites, indoor sites for those indoor winter sports, and then the outdoor sites. So we also looked at the local needs, and we know that from the plans that there is a local need, but we also anticipate that that local need will continue to be supported in some capacity by the existing facilities, and that there may be a need for some use of the additional new fields that would come from the McCracken County Athletic Complex, just outside of those tournament days. So we're talking, typically weekdays, which is when you do find a majority of those local youth athletics taking place. The intent was to help you all establish a niche for McCracken County that does not already exist within your region. And we lean towards more of the synthetic turf at this time. The majority of the closest regional draw facilities were mostly natural turf to half synthetic turf facilities. And when you're looking about having the least amount of impact on the playability of the fields, and also fitting in some of those larger tournaments with more teams, going to turf really does give you guys the flexibility to put those tournaments on and not have the negative impact of weather. So in addition, we understand that the youth sport travel industry is pretty unique. There are a lot of parents and families that are now planning full vacations around these types of activities because they can be consumed by youth travel sports, especially when they have multiple kids playing in multiple different sports. And so there's a real focus on trying to take care of the additional family members that may not necessarily be participating, but would prefer not to basically stay on site and seek some sort of other entertainment in between the competition. And so we think that your region has a really good opportunity, a unique region in that, of a wide variety of interests, including outdoor adventure, with the land between the lakes being to the east of where y'all are currently located. Y'all have an opportunity to package and promote several experiences for families and can truly capitalize on the development of the McCracken County Athletic Complex by working with the other local organizations to really put together some packages that appeal to a wide variety of interests, and will also obviously attract those folks that would be coming into play and participate in the sports. So as you see on the field, looking at the preliminary program and the primary elements, we're looking at 5 to 6 soccer fields, 3 to 4 baseball fields that have a 225 to 275 foot fence, 2 baseball fields that are 3 to 350, and then 2 softball fields that are 300 as well. And you know, there's a lot of auxiliary facilities that come along with these types of complexes. And so we have those listed in the secondary program elements as well. I've kind of brushed over the service spaces that were needed as far as maintenance facility to store the equipment, things of that nature, but know that those are still important. Just mainly focusing right now on giving you the idea behind what is there for the customer or the participant experience. So the auxiliary spaces, yes, sir.
What size of for the 5 to 6 soccer fields? What size fields?
What we're recommending, because there is an increase in the non-traditional sports, we were looking at recommending a size of a rugby field. Those tend to be the largest fields, and all of the other fields can fit within inside of those.
So you're saying 5 to 6 rugby fields are basically like a 80 by 120 on 80 by 120 yards?
No, actually, let me pull up the information on that real quick. Those are a little bit larger than that. They are specifically, we're looking at about 400 feet by 240 feet. That includes the off-field auxiliary space where the team members would be standing as well too.
400 by 200, that's a big field.
Yes, yes it is. And again, it gives you a lot more flexibility than just going with your traditional largest soccer field size.
And you want 5 to 6 of those and that to be artificial turf?
Correct.
Okay.
And so taking a look at the auxiliary program elements, it's important that you have those things that we refer to as creature comforts or human needs, concessions, merchandising, obviously warm-up areas, including restrooms, anything that would give you the ability to bring in additional vendors, whether those would be selling merchandise associated with the athletics or providing additional food service as well. Also felt that it was necessary to have shelters for those that may want to hang around locally and have that picnic. But then also, again, some auxiliary activities that could be incorporated into some tournaments, but also there for those folks that may not necessarily be participating, but are there with their families. So looking at sand volleyball, basketball, fitness stations, climbing walls, playgrounds, things of that nature. And that was really what went into how do we set the rest of the team up very well to move forward with the site selection, because it's a very important component when you're looking at the site selection to make sure that you have an appropriate location for all that you wish to do on the site, but then also making sure that it's within close proximity to ancillary services provided by some of the other businesses that you have within your county as well too. And so that's essentially the master program at a high level as we built it out in order to get more detailed and specific to look at those sites and make those selections. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions on this portion if you have any, or if you wanted to wait until the end of the entire presentation.
I guess as we're talking high level, I'll start with a question. So I'm looking at what you've recommended. Are these single-use fields where basically it's a diamond field is a diamond field all the time and a rectangle field is a rectangle field all the time?
Correct. That would be correct. We're looking at dedicated fields for those sports. Now, it's a little easier to have multi-use when you're talking about the rectangular fields than when you're talking about the diamond fields, but we did not move in the direction of an overlay.
Okay, so that's different than the Pinnacle recommendation. And
correct. And we really feel that recommendation is solid, but really more appropriate for a local need. When folks are spending the amount of money that they are in this industry for travel sports, they're looking for a better experience. They're not wanting to see corners cut on overlaying fields. It does detract from their overall experience. And while those are great for local clubs, when that's really truly what you're trying to meet as far as the need and not seeking that regional draw, they're very acceptable. But the competition level teams and those that are willing to spend the money to travel are looking for a better experience.
Okay. And so you're basically recommending 5 to 6 full, rugby size fields, which is the largest sporting field out there. And looks like a total of 8 diamond fields with various fence links and such.
Correct, 7 to 8, and it would be wonderful if you had the opportunity to expand these on the same site or on a second site for sure, because especially with being one that would be in the region full turf, and people know that if they go there, they're going to be able to get the games in. It's not going to negatively impact their schedule as traditional or natural turf does, especially during some heavy rain events. That would, in addition, I think, help you create that niche, that following that you're looking for, and can foresee a need in the future to potentially expand that.
Okay. And based upon the primary program elements, what type of acreage are you estimating we would need to do to have this?
So for a minimum of 12 fields, we were looking at also a minimum of about 60 acres. And again, that's not so much just for the fields alone. The fields alone would be taking up roughly between the fields, I should say the diamonds, the rectangular fields, and the parking would be taking up 35 to 40 acres of that. So it would be important to look at a little bit larger piece of property than that. So we went with a minimum of 60 acres to fit all 12 fields, plus the maintenance facilities needed and the ancillary facilities for human services.
And also the stormwater detention, which is you
Thank
look
you.
at that number there, plus or minus 20% of the land area, that adds up very quickly. So.
To non-architects, why the stormwater detention? Is that basically like a state code that we have to abide by, or that's
a lot of it is a local issue with when you construct impervious surface and that gets over a certain percentage, you're required to do it, and it's just to protect adjacent properties downstream from flooding. And we know with all the talk in the community of stormwater master plans and all of that, we certainly don't want to contribute to anything in the future, any issues. So.
Okay, so just in summary, you want five to 6 big rectangle fields 7 to 8 diamond fields, and you want the diamond fields to be 100% turf as well as the rectangle fields.
Correct.
Okay. And we want these lit or natural light only.
Again, looking to give you guys the ability to draw in larger tournaments and play more games, we would recommend lighting the fields as well, as many of them as possible. And this, again, isn't necessarily looking at a phased approach, except for the opportunity, from our standpoint, except for the opportunity to expand. So it would be entirely up to you all whether that was all done at once or phased in, but lighted fields will definitely help the playability of the fields, especially if you're looking at a predominant rain throughout an entire day, easing up about 5 or 6 o'clock. That still gives you the ability to get in 3 or 4 games on each field after that, and ending at a reasonable hour, of course.
Hey, Philip, so I'm assuming with the baseball, softball fields being so large, that gives you the ability to cover every traffic. Correct? You know, you'd have a temporary fence you put in for 8U, 10U, and just kind of move that fence back and all the way back to the fence for the older kids. Is that correct?
Yeah, there are configurations that do allow you to have removable or adjustable fence sizes, and that too would once again give you the greater flexibility in the tournament draw that you're looking to achieve, and also the various age segments that participate in the sport.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So,
Go ahead, Chris.
okay. Why not bigger? As far as rather than having, 8 diamond fields and 6 rectangle fields, why not have it to be 12 rectangle fields and 16 diamond fields? What's your logic based? Why are you coming to the recommendation of this size versus something else?
Well, one, taking a look at the Pinnacle report, essentially looking at the 12 to 14 fields is about where Pinnacle was with their overlay. Would give you the ability for that. So trying to keep it reasonable in that regard, to follow already completed research and work. Again, if you are looking at properties that are large enough to actually provide for that, and the funding is there once we start diving into those details, this will evolve. This is just our starting point for the purpose of site selection and beginning to identify what really is out there and what capacity we have the ability to develop to. Once a site is selected, we can get more specific, and if the opportunity is there to expand it, then, and you all are in favor of doing such, then we would also look at doing that too. But right now, there's more unknowns than there are knowns. And so we utilize this as our jumping off point.
Okay, because I know that seems like, we would, in a ideal world, we can snap our fingers and build whatever we want to build. You would think that the justification for how many fields and what mix of fields should be dictated by the market that's available rather than the potential site we select versus the funds that we have.
Yeah, that is a good point. There is logic to that approach as well too, and we have taken a look at what the 2020 report from the Sport Fitness Industry Association had put out, and the 3 sports that were identified in the Pinnacle report, those are going to be your largest. They are the largest ones that youth are currently participating in. However, they have been decreasing as well, and there has been an increase in moving towards those non-traditional sports. So again, I think that based upon the local need, based upon the area and the region in which you guys are looking to draw from, and all of the information that we saw starting out with 12 to 14 is definitely one that will help you capture your share of the market and create your own niche. Anything larger would just be icing on the cake to that. However, we also want to make sure that as we dive into the details of this, once a site is selected, that we're not overbuilding something that isn't going to be able to be maintained. And so, as you're aware, those are future details for us to work out. But I would say that we're probably a little conservative on this. I wouldn't necessarily say a lot, but I would say a little conservative based on all the information that we are able to review as part of this process.
Because I've, okay, go ahead.
Okay. And we'll have a chance at the end of everything for some additional discussion. Eric, do you want to kind of take over and dig into the more detailed program? And I've got your piece here we can talk through if need be.
Sure, and let's go back to that other page just briefly. So when we're looking at these, we consider the primary program elements to be those that are essentially mandatory for success. And the secondary program elements may or may not make sense depending on final budget, depending on site selection, depending on the balance of the how much emphasis on the community need versus the tournament need is. And so we think that, by the end of the project, there's some of the secondary program elements have migrated into primary elements. Probably they become more important. And then some of the secondary program elements maybe drop off. So some of them like sand volleyball, it's just an option. It may or may not have any merit at all once we're through the process, but there are opportunities to provide additional amenities for your community, as well as distractions and elements to kind of keep people on site while they're there for tournaments and people from out of town. So just want to preface that. And then, so the program summary that you started to walk through there, Jeff, this is what we did is we took the recommendations from Philip and started to flush them out a little. And one thing that I would challenge us as a group to come up with is some overarching design principles and what we really want to do. And so we could wordsmith these quite a bit if we want to. Definitely interested in everyone's opinion on these, but we think these overarching principles 1 through 3 there, we want to become a regional destination for athletic tournament play, provide high quality experiences for the community, and further develop the kind of the unique brand of the region. And so, maybe it's worth pausing to just say, are there others? Are these right? Maybe they could be wordsmithed and be a little bit better, but is there anything stronger that we need to incorporate into our overall thinking at this point, or are these good starting points?
I think it's pretty good starting points. Just got to keep mom happy.
Keep mom. I've heard that. I like that. Good. Okay. So the next elements, and we're not going to go through all of these in detail because we'll take the whole meeting, but we started fleshing out, what does it mean to have a soccer field? And so we start to layer on the elements that are involved in that, maybe some optional ones, maybe some storage requirements. And so we've done that for each of the fields. And so I guess what we'd like, we're going to put this in your hands after the meeting and be interested in getting your feedback on things. So we can move through to the next one there, Jeff. So we've done that with with all the ball fields, and so we start talking about fencing and fencing heights and how we want to deal with backstops, and do we want roofs over dugouts and things like that. And these are a lot of micro details that just need to be figured out by the time we're done. And so we just start to list things, interesting ones that like a press box. How important is filming and scorekeeping and statistics. How important are those to this complex? Just little things like that. may not, at least on the surface, be thinking about, but we'll get to eventually. So we can keep rolling through there. So we've done that for all three different sizes of fields.
Hey, one question. Why are the softball fields 300 feet?
That is relatively flexible, but that was a general, kind of adult softball
Because
level.
generally, isn't softball generally 225 or 210, even for the women's college level?
Yeah, women's high school is 200, I believe. So, but college level is a little bit higher. So this was targeting, I guess, some flexibility for adult softball. But we can refine those sizes as we move forward as well, if you guys have preferences.
In case we want to start a co-ed league, Chris, we were covering that. In case we want to start a co-ed league, we know how far you hit the softball, so we had to get a big field.
Yeah, I can't hit a golf ball that far. What are you talking about?
And then we start to think about the common amenities, restrooms, parking, lighting, site lighting, maintenance, like bulk storage for like calcined clay and infield materials. Do we want a lightning detection system? Got to think about first aid and security, signage and wayfinding, and then just some creature comforts and then stormwater detention again there. And then, as I mentioned, the secondary program elements, those can ebb and flow, and you guys may have other ideas there as well. But just lots of this things to think about. And right now, if we were to draw one of these elements, some of them are just like a dot on the map, and so that it's we're not quite ready to talk about them yet, but just want to keep them in mind as we're moving forward. I think that might be the end of the detail program there.
Yeah, I think that's that ends our program discussion. Unless there's specific questions regarding the overall or detailed program components. And again, as was stated, this is a jumping off point. This is not the gospel. This is not written in stone. These are just to spark discussion and thought process as we begin to look at different sites and dream about what this facility needs to be and can be.
What's y'all's thoughts on, I think you talked briefly about it, but I know whenever we received the Pinnacle report, one of the things that I never considered was potentially having a mixed use field, or either be a rectangle field or a diamond field. And if you start looking at the potential market of the number of tournaments we could potentially host, if we take this approach and say we have the 6 rugby size fields, we could potentially put a lot of, have it be either diamond or rectangle, and just the flexibility, because if we have a dedicated diamond field or a rectangle field, especially the diamond fields, rectangle fields are multi-use, you can put a bunch of stuff on there, but to have the 7 to 8 diamond fields that are only diamond fields, do we think that we could have a tournament there for both? It's just I really like the flexibility of that. But you guys are going. I guess why are you recommending the single use fields rather than the either could be diamond or say soccer?
I think Phil commented a little bit, and we can do either. So let me just say that we find that they tend to be travel programs. They tend to be pay to play programs that are using these fields, and when they're coming in from out of town, they're looking for a big league experience. And particularly, I think for the soccer, it detracts to have a backstop in your kind of in your face as you're playing, and so it just projects a little different experience. Not necessarily, if everything else is going great and the hot dogs are good and the program staff was fantastic and schedule was great and the weather was perfect, maybe it's not a issue at all. But maybe it is, I guess. It's more about delivering that big league feel. That experience is what we're targeting. But we're flexible, so it's we want to figure this out together.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I'd have to see them before I could say yes or no, but I think, and Jeff and I may have talked about this at one point, when you go to play in these tournaments, and especially if you make the championship game, I don't know how I'd feel if I paid $400 or $500 and then there's lines everywhere because it's a combo field. I think it kind of take away from the experience. And so I can see that completely.
So I think I didn't play travel sports. My son's not involved in travel sports at the moment, but if I'm going to spend a weekend away from home and spend, drop $800-900 or whatever it is, as a parent, I want that big league experience for my child, but as a athlete, I want that. But again, we're flexible. We will look at different options if so desired. Part of the Pinnacle report, and that's what we were was the comments we did get back from the commission from the Pinnacle report. I think indicated that those field overlays may not be best, but certainly an option. So.
Yeah, this is about quality, and now early
Correct.
in the process, we're looking at okay, you want this to be a regional draw. You don't want people to think, oh, let's go to Paducah. It'll be a B League tournament. Right now, we're looking at how do you set the bar at a regional draw that you can get people to really want to come to your facility. Now, that's not to say that doing fields like that is a horrible approach. It's just that's not the best way from a quality standpoint. Now, as we go through, and you'll see for when we get into some of the test fits, that there may be some instances where we say, based on the shape of the property or the cost of the property, we may need to do that. And, it's kind of a fallback position, but for right now, we're trying to shoot high from a quality standpoint.
What's been the feedback from the Panama City Beach facility, from the people who have attended and participated there thus far?
I couldn't answer that.
I don't know.
So as far as reaching out to any of those facilities, we haven't reached out to them to see if they have any surveys or any feedback from the participants. I personally, from my family standpoint, youth playing in travel basketball, travel volleyball, and travel soccer, we've sat in the infield of a baseball diamond at one of the tournaments. And each one of these tournaments, by the time you factor in food, hotel, and everything, is anywhere from $800 to $1,200 for the experience for the family. And for a lot of people, that's exactly what they would spend on a full week vacation. And in many instances, these tournaments are 3 or 4 days. So looking for a higher quality experience, all the folks that we've participated with in those tournaments where we sat in the infield, they kind of felt that was, one of the words that was used was chintzy. For the amount of money that we were paying to participate in that tournament. And so taking that into account, looking at what's made those existing facilities more successful as far as design is why we ended up where we are. But it's not to say that we can't reach out to the folks at another facility and find out if they actually have survey results where they have polled their participants to see what they're saying. But at this point in time, we don't have that. At least we as pros do not have that information from that specific facility.
Yeah, because I know from experience playing in refereeing soccer, if you have to play soccer on a baseball field, it's challenging, but that's when it is a grass outfield and a dirt infield. But with what was recommended by Pinnacle, it was the same. You know, the color of the surface changes, but it is still a real. You know, it's a consistent surface because how it rolls on grass is different than how it rolls on dirt. But with yeah, it's
I must say that I'm not a fan of the overlay different sports. The flexibility I think that we need is within the sport. Different age groups have different size soccer fields. And I think with the large fields, we can accommodate the different age groups. And instead of having one U14 game, you may be having two U12 matches on one of your soccer size fields. And I think that's where our flexibility should come, and not with an overlay of soccer and baseball or softball.
Yeah, I would agree. In many instances, those successful venues have, they may overlay and utilize the same field for softball and for baseball, sticking within the diamond sports within the diamonds, and they may overlay field sports within fields. To the participants, as well as to the parents that are paying the bill, that tends to be the more acceptable type of overlay that exists, rather than laying diamonds and rectangular fields over each other.
Now, Jim, I remember you saying previously, you know, because I think what you guys have, what's been proposed thus far is high quality, but do we have enough to have a bigger tournament to go with? Because we only have 8 diamond fields, there's a limit of how many games we can have. Now, on soccer, having 6 rugby size fields, we can probably have, you know, 20, probably 6 rugby fields. We have 18 U12 or U12 or younger. So soccer's covered in this. But if we only have 8 diamond fields, do we have a big enough complex to have a real diamond tournament here?
Well, I think we've got to remember, this is, like they said, this is preliminary. So we got to figure out what site we're selecting, how big of a site do we have, how much money do we have, stuff like that. So, I mean, to start off with 8 fields, that's a pretty good sized tournament if this was the minimum. Now, if we get there and we have 100 acres and we have plenty of money, then yeah, let's go ahead and add, you know, another 4 or something like that, and be able to get some bigger tournaments in here. But I think for the preliminary, I'm fine with 8 fields. I think it's a good sized tournament. You can get, you know, you can have 3-4 different age groups of, you know, probably 10 teams each, and have a good 1-2 day tournament here and get plenty of teams in. So I think it's a good starting point for sure.
And keep in mind that these recommendations are based on the current information that we have specific to Paducah and in your market. And so, you know, we pulled this information together feeling confident that, okay, this is what we know this is a solid program. This will get them started if, you know, and I think when we get to some of the test fits and you see how these things start to fit on the sites, you'll start to see some other opportunities for growth. You know, some of the sites don't allow any growth at all. Some of the one of the sites doesn't really handle the whole program. So, you know, we were using this information based on the sites you gave us to figure out, okay, how much can we fit? And then, you know, once we look at this, you know, we've got some other thoughts for you to consider of how you could grow it bigger if you wanted to. So this is not by any means, you know, this is the only thing you can do, but it's a jumping off point, like Jeff said before.
And I think some of this can be answered as we move the conversation on here. into executive session. So I think
Are
some
we
of this
ready
may.
for that, Jeff? You ready to go into
I
executive?
think so. I think we've discussed the master, the master in detail program pretty extensively, and I think it'll make more sense as we progress the conversation. So.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Motion by Josh. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Megan. Roll call, Megan,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Let's give it about 30 seconds to see the cable live feed.
Jim,
Yes, sir.
I think as host, you have to do the live feed or give me the host responsibility of that.
So I can go up here and kill it. All right, stop live stream.